Welcome. We are going to be exploring a life story that I think really captures the brilliance and the often devastating pressures of Hollywood fame. Specifically, the kind of fame that was so intense and so specific to the 1990s.
Right.
We're going to be looking at the career and the complexities surrounding the life of actor Jonathan Brandis.
He was such an influential face for a whole generation, an actor who rose, just astonishingly fast and really occupied a very particular space in film and TV for more than a decade.
That's right.
And for this exploration, we've gathered information from a pretty comprehensive biographical profile. It covers his entire life.
The whole arc.
The whole arc, yeah. His very early start, his pivotal roles, the explosion of his career as a teen idol, and importantly, the documented professional and personal struggles he faced later on.
So our goal today is really just to trace that journey.
Exactly, using only the facts and the accounts that have been documented by his peers and by his family to try and understand the full narrative of this, incredibly talented performer.
Our mission is pretty straightforward then. We're charting his path,
Yeah.
starting right from his days as a child model,
Early.
moving through his peak success as a teen prodigy, and then detailing the reported personal and professional difficulties that happened near the end of his life. We want to understand what it means to live a life that just accelerated so quickly.
Yeah, into this stratosphere of fame. And before we begin, we should offer a sincere note of respect here.
Of course.
The topic is obviously very sensitive. The sources do confirm the circumstances of his passing, that he died by suicide in 2003. So we are going to approach this information with the seriousness and the sympathy it deserves.
Absolutely. We'll be adhering strictly to the facts and the observations that were provided by those close to him, just to ensure the entire discussion maintains a respectful and compassionate tone.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey, starting right at the very, very beginning, charting the genesis of a truly prodigious child star. So Jonathan Gregory Brandis was born on April 13th, 1976.
In Danbury, Connecticut. He was the only child of Mary and Gregory Brandis.
And his mother, Mary, was a teacher who later became his personal manager.
Right. And his father, Gregory, worked as a food distributor and also as a firefighter.
When you look at his background, the striking thing isn't really the parents' professions, but how incredibly early his own professional life began.
It wasn't gradual at all.
No, it was immediate and
Yeah.
very focused.
It really was. The records show he started his career as a child model for Buster Brown shoes at the age of 2.
2 years old. I mean, just think about that.
It's hard to even process, and this wasn't just some casual thing. He moved from modeling into acting in TV commercials by the time he was 4.
So even before kindergarten, his path was already being set.
It demonstrates a very structured, a very committed approach to the entertainment world, almost from infancy.
Yeah.
His career was in motion before he was really old enough to understand what a career even was.
And that focus is definitely reflected in his education, too. He attended the San Fernando Valley Professional School. It's a private school that caters specifically to working young people, and he graduated in 1993.
Which tells you his entire life was structured around these demands, auditions, production schedules, and somehow, balancing all that work with a pretty rigorous academic load.
And that structure, it paid off very, very quickly.
It really did. By the time he's 6 years old, he lands the role of Kevin Buchanan on the daytime soap opera One Life to Live.
Which is a huge deal for a child actor.
It's a sustained role. He held it for about a year, between 1982 and 1983. And for a child, being on a soap opera like that, it's like intensive daily training.
Right. And you get immediate long-term exposure to a massive national audience.
Exactly.
So to maximize on that early success, the family makes a huge decision when Jonathan was 9.
A life-changing one.
They relocated entirely to Los Angeles.
Huh.
And that's a powerful signal, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It shows just how seriously his career was being taken. It's about positioning him right in the center of the industry machine.
Moving to LA at 9 isn't a casual family vacation.
No, it's a calculated, career-driven move, and it significantly increased his access to major auditions, major roles.
And after that move, the late 1980s just became a whirlwind for him.
A complete whirlwind of guest appearances on, almost every high-profile primetime show you can think of from that era.
Let's list some of them. We're talking about LA Law, Who's the Boss?
Murder, She Wrote, The Wonder Years.
Full House, Kate and Allie.
Think about the sheer ubiquity of that. Before he was even a teen heartthrob, he was already one of the most visible child actors on television.
A known commodity.
Unknown commodity to every casting director in town.
His career then progresses, I would say, decisively into the big leagues, right around when he hits his teenage years.
Yeah.
The move from doing these episodic guest spots to securing starring roles in films and miniseries,
Yeah.
that happens right around age 13.
And that transition from TV guest star to a feature film lead, that is a crucial marker of success in Hollywood. It's the jump everyone wants to make.
At 13, he gets his first major starring role. It's as Bastian Bucks in The Never-Ending Story 2, the next chapter.
Which came out in 1990, a film based on a really beloved fantasy property.
Yeah.
That gave him global exposure.
But for a lot of people, and especially for critics, the role that really cemented his early talent was from that same year.
It was the 1990 television miniseries Stephen King's It.
Playing the young, stuttering Bill Denbrough in it.
Mm.
That was a really demanding, dramatic role, wasn't it?
Extremely demanding. I mean, it required him to navigate really complex emotional trauma, horror elements. It's not light stuff.
And the accounts from that time are very clear.
They are. His performance in it was, and this is a quote, lauded by critics and audiences.
So this wasn't just about box office recognition.
No, not at all. This was an acknowledgement of genuine acting chops. Real talent in a serious, high-stakes adaptation of a massive bestseller. He wasn't just playing the cute kid anymore. He was tackling a lead dramatic role that involved vulnerability and trauma.
And that critical acclaim, it translated immediately into official industry recognition.
Yeah. He received a Saturn Award nomination in 1992 for his work in The Never-Ending Story 2.
Which is a highly coveted award for genre film.
It is. So let's sort of connect the dots here, because the trajectory is, it's nearly unprecedented.
Right.
You have a child who starts working professionally at age 2. He achieves sustained national TV exposure by 6, moves his whole family across the country at 9.
And then gets critical acclaim and serious industry nominations by the time he's 15.
The sources just paint a picture of extraordinary success achieved at a breakneck speed.
That level of success, that foundational success, being seen as this prodigious talent so young, what kind of standard does that set for his future? I mean, it sounds almost unsustainable.
It creates this immense inherent pressure. When you're a performer who is lauded by critics before you're even in your mid-teens, you are immediately burdened with the expectation of greatness. Every single role after that is measured against the perceived potential of stuttering Bill or the young lead in a major fantasy film. He basically achieved the professional benchmark many actors spend decades striving for while he was still navigating high school.
And that sets the stage for a really unique psychological challenge, doesn't it?
It does. The young adult actor has to constantly prove they are still that prodigy, even as they're expected to shed the very identity that made them famous in the first place. This early environment becomes the high watermark against which every subsequent project will, inevitably be compared.
And that immense foundational pressure was about to collide with a supernova of mass celebrity. By age 17, Jonathan Brandis was cast in the role that would truly define him for a generation of fans.
Lucas Wollensak in Sequest DSV.
This was the moment his trajectory shifted from, critically acclaimed young actor to global teen idol.
It really was. The show premiered in 1993, and I had this enormous cachet of Steven Spielberg's name attached to it.
It was a big deal.
A huge deal. A futuristic, high-concept science fiction series set aboard a massive submarine. And the role of Lucas Wollensak was just perfect for Brandis at that age.
The young, highly intelligent scientific prodigy.
Exactly. He wasn't just a supporting character either. He was an integral part of the main cast. He was essentially the proxy for the younger audience, navigating this fantastic underwater world.
And that gave him the continuous, sustained weekly exposure that just launched him into a completely different dimension of fame.
The biographical accounts are very clear on this. They confirm that this role propelled him into teen idol status. He wasn't just famous within Hollywood circles anymore, he was a cultural phenomenon.
And the recognition for the Sequest role was immediate. It was tangible.
Yep. He won a Young Artist Award in 1994 for Best Youth Actor Leading Role in a Television Series.
But we really need to try and quantify the sheer overwhelming scale of the fame he experienced during this time.
This is where the statistics become staggering and deeply illuminating. The sources quantify his popularity by detailing the volume of mail he received. At the peak of his Sequest fame, Jonathan Brandis received approximately 4,000 fan letters a week.
4,000.
A week.
Physical letters per week. That figure, especially in the mid-90s before email and social media really took over, is It's almost unimaginable.
It is.
What does that volume tell us about the connection he had with his audience?
It tells us he was embodying a powerful cultural ideal. I mean, 4,000 letters a week requires an entire logistical operation just to process the sheer quantity of paper and an emotion being sent to him.
Wow.
This wasn't just casual fandom. It represented an overwhelming level of devotion, primarily from teenage girls who saw him featured regularly in every major teen magazine on the racks. He was, to them, the unattainable, intelligent, sensitive heartthrob of the decade.
And that intense adoration, it has significant real-world physical consequences that completely altered his daily life.
Absolutely. The accounts from the production environment highlight this immediate loss of anonymity and the need for intense physical security.
So what does that mean in practice?
It means he had to be escorted onto the set of Sequest DSV by 3 studio security guards.
3 guards.
3. Think about that visual. A 17 or 18-year-old actor unable to simply walk from his trailer to the soundstage without a protective detail.
It visualizes a life where personal freedom and space just vanished overnight.
It effectively placed him inside a bubble of celebrity. It isolated him from the kind of normal adolescent experiences his peers might have been having. He was a celebrity commodity who required physical protection from the very fans who adored him.
That's the core challenge of that kind of intense idolization at that age, isn't it?
It is. From age 17 to 20, the period where most people are defining their independence and their sense of self, Brandis was navigating a world where he was constantly monitored, adored, and physically restricted.
The public persona was consuming the private individual.
It was. It makes maintaining any sense of a normal identity or professional grounding exponentially harder when the external noise is that loud.
And yet, in the middle of all this intense celebrity, he was also demonstrating a real dedication to the craft that went beyond just showing up on screen.
That's a crucial detail that is often overlooked in these stories about teen idols. The sources credit him with co-writing a Sequest DSV episode.
Which one?
An episode called The Siamese Dream. And this shows he wasn't just coasting on his fame, he was actively engaged in the process of production and storytelling.
It indicates a sincere interest in the creative mechanics of the industry, not just the spotlight.
Precisely. And he was also diversifying his professional portfolio during this period of peak popularity.
Right, he was doing voice work.
Yes, his career extended beyond live action. Between 1994 and 1995, he took on the voice acting role of Mosenrath, the evil young sorcerer in Disney's animated series Aladdin.
Which is smart.
It's very smart. It showcases a performer who is maximizing his moment, demonstrating versatility, and making sure he remained visible across different media platforms. That's often a strategy for long-term career sustainability.
So if we look at this whole segment of his life, the Sequest phenomenon, what are the long-term implications of peaking so intensely, so young, in terms of the expectations for his next phase?
Well, the problem isn't just the peak itself, it's the nature of the pedestal he was on.
What do you mean?
When you are primarily recognized for being a teen idol, the public and the industry form a very rigid perception of who you are and what you can offer.
They put you in a box.
A very strong one. As he entered his 20s, he faced this monumental task of convincing the world to forget the idealized scientific prodigy, Lucas Willenzak, and accept him as a serious, mature adult actor.
And the overwhelming success of Sequest actually made that harder.
It created an identity that was almost impossible to escape. It demands not just a shift in roles, but a radical shift in public perception, which is incredibly difficult to engineer in a hyper-competitive industry like Hollywood.
So by 1996, the Sequest DSV run was over. Jonathan Brandis is 20 years old.
Right.
He's leaving behind the, I guess you could call them golden handcuffs of a Spielberg series, and entering the brutal reality of the post-teen idol phase. This next 7-year period leading up to 2003 is really defined by his search for that elusive adult identity.
And that transition phase is often marked by a really noticeable shift in the visibility of your projects.
Things get smaller.
They get smaller. The sources confirm that his work immediately after Sequest focused on television films and supporting roles, which just don't have the massive weekly audience of a primetime network show.
What kind of things was he doing?
Well, for example, the TV film Her Last Chance in 1996. He also took a role in Born Free, A New Adventure, another TV film that was shot on location in South Africa.
So he's still working.
Oh, definitely. It shows a dedication to continuing to work and seek out different experiences, even if they were lower profile.
And he consciously made the effort to pursue supporting parts in theatrical releases. He was signaling his intention to move to the big screen as an adult actor.
And that's a classic strategy for former teen stars. You take on smaller, respected roles in feature films to gain credibility. We see this with his work in 1999. He appeared in the independent comedy Outside Providence.
And also Ang Lee's period drama Ride with the Devil.
Exactly. These were supportive roles. He was stepping back from the leading man status he once commanded, but they were necessary steps to be taken seriously as a working adult performer.
But during this phase, his professional visibility was also hampered by things out of his control. Distribution issues, for example, that resulted in substantial delays.
Yes, the source mentions two films that really suffered from this. One was Bad Girls from Valley High, which he filmed in 2000.
And it wasn't released until 2005?
Posthumously, yeah. And his very final on-screen appearance, a film called Puerto Vallarta Squeeze, which was released in 2004, was also released after his death.
So what does that mean for his career at the time?
It means that the audience, and maybe more critically, casting directors, they didn't get to see the culmination of his later work during the active years when he was trying to reinvent himself.
The effort was there, but the finished product just wasn't visible when he needed it to be.
Precisely. And this brings us to what the sources identify as the pivotal and really devastating professional setback of this entire period.
His involvement in the 2002 war drama, Hearts War.
This specific role held immense significance for him. Hearts War was a major studio project. It starred Bruce Willis and Colin Farrell.
So it was a big film?
A very big film. And it gave Brandis a small but potentially powerful dramatic role as a character named Louis P. Wakely.
And according to reports from his friends, Brandis viewed this role as the opportunity.
The opportunity that would revive his career, the moment he would finally break free from the teen idol mold and be recognized as a mature, dramatic actor.
He invested a tremendous amount of personal and professional hope in this one film.
He did, only for the final outcome to be cruelly disappointing.
Devastatingly so.
The source material is explicit on this. His entire appearance was significantly reduced to a mere deleted scene in the film's final cut.
So for anyone listening who might not be familiar with film production, that's a total erasure.
It's a total erasure. It's not just a minor edit where you lose a line or two. It means his months of work, the hopes he pinned on the project, the potential credibility boost. It was all completely removed from public view.
In the context of a comeback attempt, that's not just a professional failure, is it? It feels like a public and personal repudiation of his efforts to transition.
It's experienced as a deeply personal rejection. I mean, the film industry is often brutal and cuts happen, but when an actor has already struggled for years to shed an old identity,
Right.
and they invest so deeply in a serious dramatic role, hoping for that fresh start, that deletion confirms their worst fear.
Which is?
That the industry still doesn't see them as relevant or necessary in the adult landscape. Friends later recalled this specific incident as contributing significantly to his emotional decline.
And following this setback, his final documented attempt to secure a stable adult role was a TV pilot in 2003.
Yes, a pilot called 111 Gramercy Park.
Which was not picked up by the network.
It was not. So you have this sequence of disappointments, the cancellation of Sequest at age 20, then years of supporting roles or delayed work, then the massive emotional blow of the Hearts War deletion.
And then the failure of his final TV pilot.
It's just a sustained period of professional difficulty, right, when he was trying to solidify his career identity.
We should also just acknowledge his personal life during this really tumultuous transition period.
Of course. We know he did maintain stability in his personal life for a significant time through his relationship with the actress Tatiana Ali.
How long were they together?
That lasted 6 years, from 1995 to 2001. There was a feature on them in People magazine in 1996, so they were very much a visible celebrity couple of that era.
And separately, his social life with other former child stars was documented later.
Yes, in the 2021 documentary Kid 90, which showcased a lot of home video footage of him, it provided a glimpse into the documented off-screen friendships he maintained during that highly visible yet, isolating period.
So let's focus for just a moment on the specific hurdle of that deleted scene. Why is it so incredibly difficult for an idol like him to shake that young image? And why did the removal of his scene from Hearts War serve as such a devastating professional punctuation mark?
Well, it goes back to the intensity of the idolization we were talking about. The industry thrives on known quantities.
Right.
And Jonathan Brandis was a known quantity as Lucas Wollensak. When he attempted the serious, gritty drama of Hearts War, he was deliberately trying to offer something new. When that scene was cut, the industry was essentially saying, we don't need the new, serious version of you. We only remember the old one, and we don't know where to put you now.
Wow.
The psychological impact of realizing that your most concentrated, serious effort toward reinvention has been deemed disposable by the very system you depend on. It can just crush your motivation. It signals that the door to adult credibility, which he fought so hard to open, has been slammed shut. And this context is vital because it links that external professional failure directly to the emotional and mental state that was reported later.
We now move to the final and most difficult section of this exploration. We're focusing on the conclusion of his life. We will maintain the structure and the sincerity required for this topic, relying exclusively on the documented facts regarding the event and the accounts provided by his friends and family.
The records state that on November 11, 2003, Jonathan Brandis was found hanged in the hallway of his Los Angeles apartment.
He was 27 years old.
He was immediately rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but he succumbed to the injuries he sustained the following day, November 12, 2003.
The official determination of death was suicide.
It was.
We have to note that while the act was devastatingly final, the sources confirm that Brandis did not leave a note.
He didn't.
And this lack of a final explanation places immense importance on the context provided by those who were closest to him in the months leading up to his death.
Absolutely. The accounts from his friends are crucial here because they offer the documented narrative of his state of mind during that time.
What did they report?
Friends reported that he had fallen into a deep depression, which they attributed directly to his extended career lull.
So it wasn't a sudden crisis?
No, this was a period of sustained emotional decline that was fueled by frustration over the lack of success in his adult career.
And that emotional struggle was, according to these same reports, significantly exacerbated by that specific professional disappointment we just discussed.
Yes, the reduction of his role in Hearts War.
The linkage between the professional failure and the emotional response is documented by those who witnessed it.
It is. The reports state that following the setback, Brandis began drinking heavily. And furthermore, and this is the most difficult detail, his friends reported that he stated explicitly that he intended to kill himself.
We're delivering this information with the evident sympathy it requires, acknowledging the profound and acute crisis he was navigating during those final weeks, a struggle that was witnessed by his inner circle.
Right.
These accounts heavily frame his suffering within the context of the entertainment industry's pressure cooker and the devastating impact of feeling discarded.
They do. However, the narrative around his death gained additional vital context years later.
When his family spoke out.
Exactly. They offered a crucial distinction and a different lens through which to view his struggles.
Yes, in 2021, his father, Greg Brandis, offered a posthumous perspective that shifted the focus from purely external pressures to potential internal health challenges.
His father noted that based on reflection and, observation of his son's behavior in his 20s, he believed Jonathan was probably suffering from bipolar disorder.
And this introduces the critical consideration of an underlying mental health condition that may have significantly exacerbated the career disappointments he was facing.
It does. Greg Brandis then provided a statement that is really key for understanding the family's perspective on the complexity of his death. He carefully distinguished between career pressure and health challenges.
What were his words?
His father's words were powerful and direct, he said. His death wasn't due to the entertainment industry. I look back now, and in his 20s, he showed signs of manic depression. I hope that anyone suffering can go get help.
And that statement from his father, it fundamentally reframes the core conversation.
It really does.
It suggests that while the career difficulties certainly triggered or deepened his depression, the underlying mechanism might have been a serious health condition.
That is the critical implication. The father's perspective encourages us to move beyond the simplistic Hollywood destroyed him narrative, which so often gets attached to former child stars.
Right.
And instead, it asks us to consider the profound impact of undiagnosed or untreated mental illness. The professional setbacks, the deleted scene, the career lull, they become major stressors impacting a vulnerable, potentially bipolar individual rather than being the sole originating cause of the tragedy.
The father's statement really serves as a plea for greater mental health awareness and treatment.
It does. It highlights the need for help for those experiencing similar conditions.
The sources, when you take them all together, they just paint a picture of a life that was characterized by these phenomenal highs and crushing lows.
With the external narrative of fame and the internal struggle of identity and health just tragically colliding.
The contrast is indelible.
It really is. We have the reality of a young man who needed a three-person security detail just to walk onto a set because of the overwhelming intensity of his public adoration.
Juxtaposed against the private tragedy of a deep depression fueled by the perception that he was no longer wanted by that same industry.
And all of that, alongside the possibility of an undiagnosed mood disorder. The documented details force us to recognize the profound and invisible complexities of a life lived entirely in the public eye.
As we review the life arc of Jonathan Brandis, we see a professional narrative just defined by extremes. The astounding early success, a model at 2, critically lauded drama roles by 14, leading directly into the dizzying peak of mass celebrity during the Sequest era.
And then finally, the heartbreaking documented struggles of the later years, defined by that frustrating transition to adult roles.
The details that really remain with us are the stark contrasts, aren't they?
They are. The fact that he was so professionally focused that he graduated from a specialized school by 17, placing his entire existence on a professional track, versus the emotional turmoil reported when that track stalled.
We recall the staggering volume of 4,000 fan letters, which symbolizes that external success.
Versus the profound disappointment over a single deleted scene in Heart's War, which symbolizes internal rejection.
And we have to integrate the complexity that's offered by the family, acknowledging that documented depression and heavy drinking were potentially underpinned by the challenges of living with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
This documented journey leaves us with a provocative thought for you to consider, built entirely on the biographical facts we've discussed today. The sources chart a life where his public identity was cemented, and so intensely, within a high-stakes professional career from the time he was a toddler.
From the very beginning.
What are the long-term, perhaps inevitable implications for an individual whose sense of self and career validation is established so young and so powerfully within an industry as demanding as Hollywood? How does one build a resilient personal identity when the boundary between the internal self and the idealized public persona is completely erased before adulthood even begins?
That tension, the pressure to maintain the standard of the prodigious child and the idealized teen idol, is a thread that just runs throughout his documented story, culminating in a tragedy that speaks volumes about the intersection of intense professional expectations and underlying personal health challenges.
Thanks for listening.